Okay, so I got my liner all fixed and everything. So now let me show you how I go about measuring for my cover. I had a lot of issues lining things up when I measured separately. I found when I do this that it just yields better results for me at least. So I'm going to grab my leather that I'm going to be using. This is some green, some dark green goat skin I got. This isn't Sokoto, it's a little thicker. What I'm going to do, first off, I'm going to look at, which part I want to use. Depending on if it will fit. See, man, there's just some things about. I might have to go down here. Yeah, I'm going to have to go down here. Okay, so I'll show you what I do. Let me grab my bean bag here. Okay. So, I'm going to lay my liner about where I want it. I'm going to move this angle a little bit so you can maybe see right above. Okay. And then what I'm going to do, so this is that beveled ruler. So what you do is you set something underneath it, and then you can say, I know I want to add X amount. I want to add 1/2 inch. So you line it up with the 1/2 inch mark right here, and then all you have to do is just go like that. I'll show you here in a second. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to outline the liner here onto this cover. And draw on. Not very well. Let me use this black. Well, just may not be able to see that black very well. None of my white pens seem to want to work very well. Actually, let me see here. I got some new ones. See if this one works any better. Okay, did that. Yep, that worked. Okay. One thing I'm going to do too is I'm just going to set this down so my liner doesn't accidentally move as I'm moving around. And I apologize if I'm cutting into the frame, but and if you notice, I haven't cut my corners yet. I haven't rounded them at least. Not any big reason for that. I just have a process, and it's just one of the things I do after this. Okay. Last little bit here. Okay. That's super light. Super light. But I think it came out somewhat. Well, it came out there. I might just have to kind of retrace here. Let's see. Oh, is this pen already not going to work? That's crazy, bro. That's so frustrating. So here's where I might have to use my black. You may not be able to see it as well, but I think you'll get the gist of it. I believe, at least. That one doesn't want to draw either. Goodness. This leather just does not want to be marked on. Wonder if that'll do it, maybe? Nope. Man, that's nuts. I've never seen this before. I don't usually work with this leather. I'm just gonna kind of, as best as I can, trace it out here. Guess as long as I kind of get the corners, that's probably the main thing, right? Okay. Oh, here we go. Apologies if you can't see that real well. Okay. One thing to think about too, when you lay your liner down, make sure you're giving yourself enough room on this leather to account for the fold over. So at this point, I know liner, right? And I always do a 3/8, I believe it's 3/8 fold over. What is this? Let me see. It's yeah, 3/8 fold over. So it is on here, it is this line in between the half and quarter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this line, these lines up with this line, and then I'm going to trace. So I'll show you here. Make sure I'm nice and even. I am. Well, okay, so if you can see there, and this is where I'm going to have to kind of flip this around. So let's do this side. Let me see if I can do it kind of in the middle here. I don't know you'll super be able to see this, but sorry, I know I'm in your camera angle. Okay. That come in. Let's go. Again, let's see if I can get it. And does not have to be super precise, because what I typically do is my final result is typically not a 3/8 fold over. and I'll talk about that here in a minute. Finish this little section up here. Sorry. Somewhere around right there. I think that line might have actually come out. I don't know why I didn't want to do it earlier. So here you go. You can see liner, fold over. So now, if we go, we take our liner, it should fit right in there. Yep, there you go. So then I'll cut this outside liner, right? I'll round the corners, do all that kind of stuff, and I'll show that process. But let me talk about how I go about gluing and all that stuff. So once I have, once I've cut this outside liner, once I've skived it and everything, what ends up happening, I found, especially with the leather I work with a lot, the Sakoto, what happens is it gets stretched out in some areas, and so, you know, you end up having areas that it's not an even distance apart from the liner and the edge of the cover. So what I do is I prep my cover with my spine material or hubs or whatever you're doing. I cut this, so I do my, I guess you call it the eye cut, right? Where you do here, here, and then in the middle. And then what I do is I line it up as best as I can, and I will glue, like, you know, so if, like, let's just say this ruler's the spine, right? What I will do is I'll glue, like, right here, like just this kind of intersection right here. I'll do the same thing here, but I'll leave it to where, you know, it can kind of flip up like this, because then what I will do is I'll take my beveled ruler and I will say, okay, I know to get even measurements all the way around is I'll, you know, pick a particular spot on the bevel ruler. Typically it's somewhere around this 1/4 inch line. Typically it's in between the two. And then I'll draw a line, you know, and there will be some areas where it's just a little bit, somewhere it's more. I'll draw a line and I'll come back and I'll do a final cut on everything, and I'll redo my corners because it's probably a little bit more narrow now. And then that allows me to then go and have kind of straight edge sections, and I know that generally speaking the distance between my liner and edge here and here and here and here is all the same. And then from there, to do my gilt lines, because, or let me back up. So once I've done that, everything's cut, everything's exactly how it should be, I glue everything down, okay? And one of the reasons I don't glue it all the way down, just to back up, is, so once I've drawn my edges, it's really hard to then try to cut super easily because this liner's on top of it. But if you don't glue the edges all the way down, you can get that flat ruler and do what you need to do. And then gilt lines, very easy in my opinion. First off, you got to know your temp for the particular foil and stuff you're using. But what I'll do is, let's say, just for sake of argument, this is all glued down, right? I'll take my ruler and I'll flip my fold over about where it's gonna meet. I want a little bit of extra room, because you don't want to have to pull super tight if there is an area that's slightly less, because I want to have the edge meet the edge of the gold line. So what I'll do is I'll take my ruler, I'll have the fold over maybe slightly over the ruler or right at the ruler, and then I'll take my beveled edge once again. I'll judge the distance, right? And I'll go, okay, this is 1/4 of an inch. So I'll do 1/4 of an inch. I'll draw a line here. I'll draw a line here. Boom. Same thing all around. Just a tiny little line, one that the fold over is going to cover. A tiny little line. Then what I do is, let's just say for sake of argument that this is what we're working with, right? Then what I'll do is I'll actually, and you got to find a comfortable spot where you can go front and back, front and back. But I'll take my ruler, I'll take some tape, I'll tape down this side of the ruler, I'll tape down this side of the ruler, and then, you know, once that's taped down, I'll get this situated just right. And then I take my soldering iron, and before I ever put gold foil on it, I'll kind of make a smooth line. I'll kind of smooth out, you know, all the pebbliness of the leather, all the graininess of the leather. I'll smooth it out just a little bit. You don't need to do a ton, because then once that's smooth, at least on the foil I use, which is a matte foil, it's not a super bright, I just find it looks better. Then what I'll do is I'll take this gold foil, obviously the piece will be a lot bigger, and you probably want it to go to about right here to about right here, because then you have to do your corners after that. I'll take that gold foil, right, and underneath this is that smoothed out line, and I'll just do that, I'll do that, and I'll just work it until, you know, it's on. And then I'll flip this up and go, okay, perfect, I'm good, boom. And then I move on to the other parts, right? So, and then once I have all the lines, I've made a template for my interior gilt lines. So what I'll do then is I'll take this and I'll go up to the corner, right, and I'll go, okay, that matches up. Once again, I'll smooth it out a little bit. Take my foil underneath, boom, I'll do my thing. And then it's not always going to match perfectly, right? However, I found I have this tool that I can just ever so gingerly scrape off some of that gold foil to make it align pretty well. So once again I'll do a video on that, but that's how I measure my leather. I'll record some other stuff as far as the other things we talked about. You see that? How that matches up? This one's a little bit off. Man, I think we're pretty Gucci, dude. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my bean bag because I want to keep this in the same spot. These are my LSU bean bags. Alright. So all I'm going to do really is kind of this section right here. So shy with it. All right. There you go. See what I mean? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm very carefully going to make sure everything's still kind of aligned. I don't know if you can see this end right here, but it's severely malformed. So I'm going to try to fix that with gluing. I don't know I'm going to be successful, but you know, we'll see. Same thing on this side. Boom. This Bible isn't for anybody. This is a Reformed Study Bible, like the condensed version I had. Didn't have gold or silver on the page edges, which kind of stinks, but it was one I had that I was like, you know what, this would be a good rebind. I don't see Reformed Study Bible rebinds very often, so I might try to do something cool with the page edges. Who knows? Same thing here. I want to make sure everything's nice and so now we have it glued, but you can see we got these areas right here, but the reason I glued is I know where this is going to end up landing against this leather, so this is where I can go, alright, I know I need to cut this much off here, this much off there. Yeah, I just kept getting so frustrated by, you know, my measurements not lining up, and then, you know, what do you do? And so I just found this was, once again, just for me, kind of idiot proof, which for me is very good. Okay, so beveled ruler. I'm going to use a dark pen because my white pens are having trouble on this leather, so. Oh, ruh-roh. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and kind of look at our shortest spot here, which is probably right here. And I'm going to say, how far is that? Oh, that's plenty far enough. So I have found doing right between the 3/8 mark and the 1/4 inch mark is kind of my sweet spot. So that's where I'm going to go, and I'm going to try to kind of pull this leather out so that it's kind of straight. And I'm going to measure just right in between those two. Try to make it as even as possible. This needs to come out. That's fine. I think that's pretty good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of tip this beveled ruler over. You got to get a lot of pressure on it. And this is where I'm going to draw my straight line, and theoretically this should give us the most even sort of measurements. See what I mean? I don't know if you can see that. Yep. I'm going to do that all the way around. So once again, we're going kind of in between those two. here's the thing to remember. You can always cut off more. You can never add less. You can always cut off more, but you can't ever, once you've cut too much, you can't ever really undo that. So just keep that in mind. If you're not sure, use the less measurement and then cut off a little bit more, and so on and so forth. Learn that the hard way. Yeah, like that. And then once I do this, you can see kind of on this corner, right? I'm gonna have to go back and do my line, and two, I'm gonna have to kind of do a little bit of skiving with my other kind of skiving knife. So I'll kind of show you that here in a second. All right, so